Hello, once again. This is Antonio, and I'm coming at you with another. I can't even call this video exciting because now we receive the verdict for what took place, and I'm gonna call him Treadmill Dad. He placed his child on the treadmill out of anger because he felt that his child wasn't working out enough, right? And he made the son run over and over and over because of YouTube politics. I really don't want to share the video because when you share certain videos, it can get you demonetized. But nevertheless, so then he abusively harmed his own child. So without further ado, we do have the verdict. This is fair use. And we are going to go ahead and dive into the video so we can go ahead and speak about the breaking news and the verdict of this case. And then I'll come back and tell you how I feel about the case itself.
There you see it. That's right. A verdict is in for the Treadmill abuse murder trial. Christopher Gregor is charged with murder of his 6-year-old son, Corey. Let's get into court. The jury is in the courtroom for this verdict.
As the 12 deliberating jurors are back in the jury box. In addition, we have our alternates seated in the jury box to prevent them from appearing on camera. So those are seats 4 and 11. In addition, seats 3 and 13 are empty as those jurors have been excused. Madam Foreperson, would you please rise? Madam Foreperson, has the jury reached a verdict?
It has, sir.
And is that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm going to read to you each count. Please give me the jury's unanimous response. 1, how do you find as to count 1, endangering the welfare of a child?
Guilty.
2, how do you find as to count 2, murder?
Not guilty.
3, how do you find as to the charge of aggravated manslaughter?
Guilty.
And you did not answer question 4?
No, sir.
At this time, thank you, Madam Foreperson, you can be seated. At this time, I'm going to poll the jury. Members of the jury, you've heard the verdict as read by your foreperson. At this point, I'm going to ask each juror by number, except the 2 alternates, to respond yes if the verdict read by the foreperson is your verdict, no if the verdict read by the foreperson is not your verdict. Juror number 2.
Yes.
Juror number 3 is empty. Juror number 4 is alternate. Juror number 5.
Yes.
Juror number 6.
Yes.
Juror number 7.
Yes.
Juror number 8.
Yes.
Juror number 9.
Yes.
Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 11 is an alternate. Juror number 12.
Yes.
Juror number 13 has been excused. Juror number 14.
Yes.
Juror number 15.
Yes.
Juror number 16. Is counsel satisfied that the verdict is unanimous?
Yes.
At this time, I would ask the clerk to record and note in the minutes that the verdict is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the function you have performed is one of the most important civic duties you can ever be called upon to fulfill. With the return of your verdict, your service in this case is complete. Upon your discharge, you are not required, except upon court order, to discuss your deliberations or verdict with anyone. Additionally, no attorney or party or any person acting on their behalf is permitted under our rules of court to examine you or question you or even to discuss with you your verdict or your deliberations or your role in this matter. In some states, judges are actually able to stay afterwards and speak to the jurors about the experience. In New Jersey, judges and attorneys are specifically prohibited from doing that. If anyone approaches you associated with the case, the attorneys or the parties, please notify me immediately. It's possible you may be contacted by others, including members of the media. As you know, obviously we had media coverage in this trial. It will be up to each of you to decide whether or not to speak to those persons or entities about your service as a juror. If you agree to be interviewed, you may discuss whatever you want in whatever manner you deem appropriate. However, I'd ask you to keep these things in mind. The key to your function as jurors has been the free discussion amongst yourselves during deliberations, and the privacy of those deliberations is essential to the continuation of the fair administration of justice. All jurors have the prerogative to keep confidential their communications with their fellow jurors during deliberations. In fact, it is in the public interest that there be the utmost freedom of discussion in the jury room and that each of you be permitted to express your views without concern for public reaction or criticism. Under no circumstances should you make a statement to the media or anyone else that you would not be willing to repeat under oath in court in the presence of your fellow jurors. But on a personal note, I want to thank you for your service. I know we told you in the beginning that it's a civic duty, but this case was a long case. It was difficult scheduling issues, and it was a difficult case with a lot of emotion. I told you we had the best justice system in the world, and one of the reasons, probably the principal reason, is because our Constitution guarantees a right to a trial by jury, and we can't do this without you. It's truly remarkable witnessing this reality and your participation in it. It's not only been my pleasure to have you here, it's been my privilege to have you here. I'm going to give you one final instruction, and I'm sure the attorneys join in that, by the way, our thanks and our appreciation for your attention and also how you've gotten along as a group. But I'm going to give you one final instruction, and that is the Sheriff's Department is going to escort you out that door, out a separate private entrance to the courthouse. I don't want to risk that somebody who's upset one way or the other comes up to you. They're going to make sure there's plenty of officers taken to your cars. So if you want to exchange some telephone numbers or something like that, if you become friends, I ask you to do that quickly because I would really appreciate that you get in your vehicles and you go home and get out of here in the event there's any reaction by anyone. So again, thank you so much for your service. Just hand Corporal Bennett your jury pass on the way out and the verdict sheet. And been my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
I just ask everybody in the gallery to please remain in the courtroom until the jurors have left.
The exception being any member of the media that needs to step out for work reasons, you can do that. So.
All right, let's go through those guilties one more time. Count 1, endangering the welfare of a child. Count 2, murder, is not guilty, but he was found guilty of the lesser included homicide offense, aggravated manslaughter. I just want to point out, he's standing there. I said at one point, is he crying? And heard in my ear, nope, it doesn't look like he's crying. He does look upset. He looks a little bothered. I'm sure he is not happy with that. Let's bring in Michael Jafer, still with me. Michael, let's talk about this aggravated manslaughter charge in New Jersey. It is when someone recklessly causes death while showing an extreme indifference to human life.
I agree that was bad. There was recklessness here. I like the jury. I like what they did. This is when the jury system really works. I think it was clearly reckless. And he should count himself lucky.
Yes.
Lucky that he didn't get convicted of the big charge. And I'll tell you why. Whenever there's a death of a child at the hands of a parent, I've seen juries over-convict. In this case, they didn't. They convicted the proper charge.
Well, let's get into the difference between murder and the aggravated manslaughter. It's the intent. Was this a premeditated, intentional murder? Obviously, the jury said no.
Absolutely. And there was no premeditation. There was no intent. I know that was the original charge, but there was no intent here. There's no way. And we had it on tape. He clearly was not trying to kill his kid. He was an idiot, and he got convicted accordingly.
Yeah, and the aggravated manslaughter carries 10 to 30 years. But I understand that the judge is now addressing the attorneys. Let's get back inside the courtroom.
VFly is a company that helps your YouTube videos go viral using Google Ads, which helps you get noticed in Google search.
Sentencing date?
August 2nd, 1:30 p.m. in person.
And that's a Friday?
Yes,
Mr. Gallucci, is that acceptable for you?
Yes, Judge.
All right, anything else from counsel for the other side?
No, Judge, thank you.
All right, defendant was detained pre-trial, the jury having found him guilty of aggravated manslaughter, a first-degree crime, and endangering the welfare of a child, a second-degree crime. I order that he be remanded pursuant to Rule 3:21-4A, pending sentence.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
And counsel, it was a pleasure to have all of you here. Both sides did an excellent job. Made my job easier. Thank you both. Thank you all four of you, I should say.
All right, you folks can exit. Just remain in the hallway for a few minutes.
Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, court is over. You can still see the defendant there learning his fate. The sentencing has just been set by the judge for August 2nd of this year. I want to bring back in National Trial Attorney Michael Jafer. Listen to, I was just saying, 10 to 30 years is the possible sentence for the aggravated manslaughter. Of course, then they'll be separate for the endangering. That might run consecutively or concurrently. But in this case, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, had he been convicted of murder in this case with this particular child who was only 6 6 years old. He would have been sent to prison for life without parole because the child was under the age of 14. So for the defense team, this is a huge win.
I think it's a great win. On a Friday, they go out, they have every cause to celebrate. They did an excellent job for them. When you're a defense attorney, you go in, even sometimes when your client is convicted, it's a win if you get them sentenced in a certain reasonableness, right? They did an excellent job. They had no plea on the table, by the way, for this. I think if they had a plea on the table for something like this, they would have taken it, they would have pounded the table for their client and said, take this plea. That was not offered to them. They got it with the jury. I think they did a great job.
And one of the things they did, we know, is Dr. Bodden testified as an expert on behalf of the defense to say that the child died of natural causes, that he had fast-acting pneumonia. That's not the correct medical term, and also then he had a laceration in his heart. And so at the end of the day, it was a battle of the experts. I think that it means that they believed that the injuries to the child played a part in the death of Corey, and that those injuries were caused by the father.
Yeah, I mean, if the child slipped and fell in the kitchen and then died because the dad left water on the floor, I don't think anybody would have batted an eye and charged him, right? But because of the fact that he put him into such an extreme, they tell you on those treadmills, do not let a kid go in a sauna, in a whirlpool.
Yeah, they do.
And they tell you that for a reason, because not every kid can sustain that type of an injury. So, yeah, I think the battle of the experts weighed in his favor in this case, but still, yeah, he set up the crisis.
And you know, videos are our best evidence, Michael. And so when you see a video like that, it was disturbing on so many levels. And the defense tried to say in closing, the father was trying to put him back on there and put his feet on the sides and was just helping him get back on the machine. But when you watched, and clearly the jury agreed with what I thought, when you watched that video, it just broke your heart for that little boy, because he would fall and he'd put him back up there. And then when he had his mouth on the boy's head, we're watching the video now, right there, when the mouth is on the boy's head, and the defense tried to really make light of that and say it really wasn't anything significant, substantial. You watch this and you think, if this is the way he's acting with his son in this one video, how must he have been acting the rest of the time when the mother testified about bruises and calling the child welfare agency? I think this video sealed his fate.
I think this video, it's jarring. I mean, I'm kind of disoriented looking at it, Judge Ashley, because of how painful it is. I've got, two boys that age, so it's just disorienting. I don't believe that there's a world where parents do what we're seeing right here with this kid on the treadmill. And now we know that the kid was sickly, and you put him on the treadmill, and he was having, basically blunt force trauma at your hands.
Yeah.
So I think it was a proper conviction.
And to hear from you, a male, like the defendant's a male, that you have two children that age, and you wouldn't have done that to your kid on the treadmill, speaks volumes. I think it weighed a lot for the jury. Again, let's go back and listen to the verdict as it was read for the defendant, now convicted, Christopher Gregor.
Madam Foreperson, has the jury reached a verdict?
They have, sir.
And is that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm going to read to you each count. Please give me the jury's unanimous response. 1, how do you find as to count 1, endangering the welfare of a child?
Guilty.
2, how do you find as to count 2, murder?
Not guilty.
3, how do you find as to the charge of aggravated manslaughter?
Guilty.
I think most would agree, based on the evidence presented during this trial, that this is the right verdict. I know that I personally do.
Okay, so let's get my commentary. I think that if I was in a jury seeing the video, him biting his son, being so forceful, I probably would have upped the counts, right? Even though they gave him not guilty on the murder charge, but he's definitely going to receive some time to think about it. It's one thing to be tough on sons. I know you want your son to be manly, man, but that was a 6-year-old boy. That's not a man yet. And he probably was a caring father. But his aggression and the biting, what was the biting for? All right. Nevertheless, this is Antonio with Team Tiggio. Please like, comment, subscribe, as we'll be coming to you with more videos in the future. And once again, we'll be seeing the next video.